here on the program. Were you familiar with the old Salugi play in New York, where some little kid, would be the dead of winter, like 3 degrees outside, icy conditions on the streets. You would grab his little hat that was covering his ears, and then throw it around, and you throw it to another guy. As you threw it, and the guy wasn't able to catch up to it in a game of keep away, you would yell Salugi. Should the Salugi play be eliminated from NFL games? This has been a question plaguing us because it's turned around a bunch of point spreads in games. I mean, it ruined Bill Belichick's season. Should that be a ban, the Salugi play, from the National Football League, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I don't remember the whole Salugi thing in Forest Hills. I think right? Mine. It's the same game except mine was Horowitz. They would just yell out Horowitz.
Horowitz. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a Jewish version of Salugi because this came from an Italian neighborhood.
Exactly. So I think I played that game, but just a different version.
Yeah.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
You really have to admire Iron Eagle, always willing to address the absurd here on the program. I mean, as soon as we mentioned the word Salugi, he was already, you could tell, conjuring up ideas about how to respond, and then came up with the Horowitz play, which I don't remember the Horowitz play. I was in a combined neighborhood. I mean, we had everything all mixed in together there where I grew up in Brooklyn. And so, if something was of an Italian descent, like the Salugi play, it was fine to go with that. The Jews didn't particularly feel compelled to come up with their own version of the game. We would just go along with Salugi. And then if there was some Jewish thing, the Italians naturally would adapt to that as well. Puerto Ricans, sometimes beat to their own drummer there. And, the African Americans, they had their own thing. But Salugi, among the Italians and the Jews, was universal. We did not have a Horowitz play. Good morning, everybody. You're probably wondering about the hat. Lubie, what do you think?
I never wear a hat, so yes, I am curious.
Excuse me here. And I try not to hack my way through this one because I actually feel pretty good today by comparison to yesterday. And yet there's still a little scratchy thing in the throat there, which is particularly prohibitive when you're trying to project the, magnanimous, personality that you have to have here to draw listeners and viewers on any kind of a broadcast. So there's a method to it. And actually has nothing to do with the fact that yesterday, and this normally would be like devastating news, right, where you test positive for COVID. And I was feeling some guilt, health guilt, because I had been feeling lousy, and I had a doctor's appointment with my buddy, Dr. Jerry, and I probably mishandled this. And but I felt like I was getting over whatever it was that I had, like a cold. And people kept saying, hey, why don't you take a COVID test? I was like, it's nothing. So sure enough, I end up going to the appointment, but I wore a mask while I was in the guy's office, thinking I didn't even want to spread this hideous cold. And excuse me for a sec. Excuse me.
Yes.
But anyway, so I told him I was feeling bad. He said, well, you ought to take a COVID test. I came home, I took the test, and it was positive. So it was the vid all along, which Mayo, naturally, the human hypochondriac, was like gloating. Oh, I told you I was on COVID. I mean, and in the beginning with COVID, I mean, the last thing you wanted to know is that you had even like the slightest symptom of COVID-19. This was before vaccines and quarantines were in order there, and it was very severe, and they were carrying people off the track in mass numbers in body bags. I mean, it was really scary when it first came around, was it not?
Well,
you see those shots of the hospitals in New York, and they were having to pack meat trucks outside, freezer trucks to just accommodate the number of bodies that were, checking out in the hospital, like in a matter of, days even before, they had some kind of solution to it to stave off the devastation. And that seemed to go on for a while, right? I mean, how long were we under all of these restrictions with COVID-19?
Yeah.
DeSantis naturally was opposed to all of it, thinking that this is nothing and it'll just blow over. Of course, Donald Trump was our leader of the country at the time, and he was constantly in denial that anything was wrong. And surprisingly, or I guess not surprisingly, the Trumpsters, which I have a good friend, and I talked to him yesterday, told him I had COVID. He said, well, and look how many vaccines you had. And I had gone for, I guess I went 4 rounds of vaccines. Should I have gone further with that? I don't know. Were the 4 rounds enough to keep me from feeling any devastating effects? That will always be a mystery, because it wasn't like I was ever in a life-threatening situation or anything like that. I mean, just felt really bad for a couple of days. It kind of lifted off a little bit yesterday, and then even more so last night. I feel like I'm making an easy 100% recovery. Other people I talked to said that there's a strain going around now that a lot of people are getting, but it's not nearly as impactful as it originally was. Is that more or less the outlook on COVID-19, that you might get it still, but it's not going to have the devastating impact that it did, especially, I guess, if you had the vaccines? I'm not sure. Nobody really knows what the impact of the vaccines was, or how helpful it was, but I would have to think it had to do some good, no? Because the body count, remember, every day on TV, you were seeing a body count there for almost a year.
Yes.
And it got into the millions of Americans. And many people who scoffed at the whole idea of the vaccine
Right.
ended up, ironically, and sadly, checking out themselves.
Yes. From
And you
COVID.
thought,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wanted all the vaccine I could get. I guess they had a fifth and a sixth
Oh my God, I
booster.
didn't know there was a fourth and then a fifth. They weren't allowing everyone to get it, so that's why I didn't get it. I was all in on getting whatever. Shirley had sort of ill effects from them, like she'd feel sick for a day.
Yeah.
So she's a little weird about it. I'm not. Like I felt.
I had no impact from the vaccine. I felt fine.
So I'm now probably gonna go and get. I guess I don't know whichever one I don't have, because
I think there was a fifth one. I'm not sure there was a sixth one.
No,
I did have four of them, and then I just stopped because I hadn't been sick a day in 3 years.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I was thinking, wow, this vaccine not only works against COVID-19, but it wasn't uncommon for me at least every other year to get afflicted with some kind of really, really bad South Florida flu, which all of you people that live in South Florida have experienced, and people around the country obviously are concerned about the flu virus, which some people thought was even more, more of a problem than COVID-19 itself, because people were ignoring, flu vaccines and things. I don't believe in the flu shot, because every time I've received one, which is only a couple of times, I was sick as a dog after that.
Yep.
With the flu. So, I mean, what's the point of getting a flu shot if it gives you the flu? I don't know that was going to save my life. And in general, I'm a pretty healthy person, although somewhat compromised by the fact that I haven't been able to do my usual exercise routines there with the walk of life and my couple of times a week playing tennis. And I was feeling in pretty good shape until the broken toe came, which is the reason for the cap. Because I go to my appointment there with Dr. Jerry. I'm a week away from probably, totally being healed up, or as close to totally healed up as you can be. He told me to go ahead and start maybe walking as far as I could, just wearing regular shoes, which is good. I'm going to give it a shot today, later on. Although, should you go outside? I don't know. If I'm away from people,
You're fine.
Yeah, outside. Not going to give it to
I
anybody.
wouldn't
Pass
go
them.
hug or kiss anyone, but yes, if you're walking outside, you should be fine.
That's what I figured. Okay, I'll stay away from everybody. I'll keep my head down.
Yeah.
Stay focused. Try and go easy. Maybe working a mile today, 2 miles tomorrow, whatever. Get back to what I'm. And that'd be great. Fortunately for me, the tape job that Dr. Jerry did, which had been magnificent the first 3 times, I don't know if he was, cutting his budget on the kind of tape he was using, but it was like no stick, like a no stick pan. So that was unraveling, and I did like a real quick patch job here as I realized that this thing was coming apart, and put it together with like Scotch tape, but I didn't want to jump in the shower. So therefore, the hat, which I purchased for $5 in Italy. It's one of the few souvenirs I brought back from Italy. Excuse me. And, so it worked. I don't know. Does the look work? This is very common podcast. Yeah.
You look fine. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, sounds good. All right, so that's the story. The toe's broken, but only to a minor variety. Looks like I'm going to pick up my activities, hopefully beginning today, see how it goes. The COVID-19 seems to be dissipating. I do have, what is the point of having a primary care physician, especially if they're associated with some kind of a group? Which I go to this place. It used to. They keep changing names too, which always scares me because that's usually a sign of a business that is not necessarily on the level. I'm not sure what the reasons for it would be. Maybe they lost partners or whatever, had some kind of trademark thing. But there's a place on Atlantic Boulevard that I've been going to forever. It used to be like Silverstein and Silverstein. And in general, they're okay, right? If you make an appointment, they usually see you on time. They're capable of directing you somewhere. Seem to have doctors that are somewhat understanding. They're pretty good about giving you information when you go for your visit and telling you what's up. But I call in tell them I got COVID. I need a prescription of some sort. What did they give you? Remdesivir, or what was the other one with the P? Excuse me.
The one Mayo knows. Mayo
Yeah.
knows all by
Mayo
heart.
knows everything. Mayo is he should have been a doctor. I bet his mother says that to him all the time. What are you wasting your time eating food for? You could have been a doctor. Although he's lived a very nice and lucrative life, this kid, Mike Mayo, which will be coming your way at 12 o'clock later on today. And interesting, my son was concerned about my whereabouts and well-being because he tuned in late to the Mayo show yesterday and didn't see me on it. And he was wondering, what the hell is up, Dad? Which, I'm thinking, hey, we're barking out this stuff. Now, we wouldn't be inclined necessarily to tune in at 7 o'clock in the morning, but because he's got 2 kids to deal with and a job and all of that. But now even my own son knows me by way of Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Paxlovid. Okay. So it should be a pretty simple procedure. You call your primary care physician. They say, okay, you got COVID. That's too bad. Geez, we feel badly for you. We'll call your pharmacy and call in one of these prescriptions. And the woman tells me that if the doctor has any questions, once they get this information, they'll call me back and ask me any questions, and then hopefully we can go on from there. And I was looking forward to picking something up and immediately getting this stuff, into my system here to get rid of whatever is left of this strain of COVID-19. And so I don't hear back from them at all, right? And then I call down to the pharmacy to see if anybody called in a prescription. Nothing. They never got a call from anybody. And it turns out this particular pharmacy doesn't even carry those drugs, right? So you would think somebody would have gotten to me and said, hey, we can't get you the drug. You got another location you could pick it up at. But nothing. Never addressed it at all, right? So what if I really was in bad shape? Is there any concern there on the part of your primary care physician? Nothing. You would think they would have called you right away and said, wait a minute, you got COVID? How you feeling? What's going on? You might need to get down to an emergency room. You may need to come in. Nothing. No concern whatsoever.
COVID these days, where it's gone in our mind's eye.
Imagine it.
Well, COVID, all right.
They should have sent an ambulance over here, Not that I needed it, but nonetheless, that is that. All right. So everything's good. And put that all aside. Forgive me for, the coughing and the hat, but we're going to make it through. And it seems to be getting better every day. And hopefully I'll be able to get through to these guys. As soon as we get off the air, I'm going to make another call. And it doesn't matter. There's no point getting angry either. I mean, you could call up and say, hey, wait a minute, man. I called yesterday. What the hell? What the fuck? What if I was dying? Do you guys have any concern about it whatsoever? I mean, and I don't know. Could the Mustang, if I checked out, could the Mustang have called and said, hey, wait a minute. And he tried these guys. They ignored him completely. His own primary care guy. And, are they liable? I mean, I don't know. Probably not, right?
I'd call again if you really want it. You seem to be fine, so.
Well, the problem is I feel like maybe you should take the whatever antibiotic that is. I don't know what exactly the medicine, the medical part of it is, but just to make sure it's out of your system forever.
It's not bad.
It seems to have it's had a lingering effect with me. That I believe that maybe I've had this for like a month or so, but because it's flared up a couple of times, and then the rest of the time I've been fine. Which a lot of people have no symptoms of this sort of stuff, but. Certainly, I would not like this raging feeling that knocked me out for 2 days to come back again. Now, that is something I would like to dodge. So I usually take whatever antibiotic it is right out the door until it's over, and then hope that the whole thing is cured. And I think that's the way it works, right, with COVID now. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not against taking it, but that's what I'm saying. If your doctor is being a pain in the ass and you feel okay. I mean, I guess I would ride the wave out. I mean, I would try them again or go into the office. I know no one wants to go.
I don't know that you can roll in there. I mean, you shouldn't really roll into any place, right? If you have the stuff you need to kind of be responsible, self-quarantine. I feel bad. I went to my doctor yesterday, Dr. Jerry, about the toe. But I didn't know. And I had no reason to assume since I felt okay to even drive there. It was fine, as long as I wasn't talking, I was fine. Which shows you the dedication to this job and to our audience here that I'm going to hack my way through another program here today. Appreciate you guys and your tolerance of what normally would be considered to be a highly unprofessional approach. All right, many things happening in the world of sport, Mike Lubie. Later on, we're going to talk to Grant Long, one of our favorites, about the NBA. And Grant, of course, was a longtime player in the NBA, 15 years, most of those with the Miami Heat. As for now a while, I've been a part of the Detroit Pistons broadcast team. I bet he wishes he was in Boston. Man, the Pistons have sucked for a long time, huh?
Yeah, they had that run where they went to like 5 or 6. Was it 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals in the early 2000s?
Wow.
And they've been horrendous the last decade plus.
And that's while drafting very highly, which always, amazes me that teams can have, high lottery picks 3, 4 years in a row and never get any better. I mean, so what is the point of the parity? Is it just that they're lousy organizations or that there's nobody coming out in the draft that's overwhelmingly impactful? Orlando's always getting high picks and they still suck.
Yep.
Even with Banchero, who's having a really good rookie season, but
Yep.
they're sitting there. I mean, this is a day old, these standings, but 16-28. Last record I have. They might have lost a game last night, not sure. Boston obviously is lighting it up. And you look at the Detroit Pistons, and they're sitting there at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference. No, second only to Charlotte in terms of ineptitude. The Charlotte Hornets. The Detroit Pistons sitting there at 12 and 35, man.
That's crazy.
How is that possible, right?
Every year.
I mean, they had Cade Cunningham. Is he even playing, or is he injured? What happened to that guy? He looked like he was making strides after a really poor start to his rookie season last year. What's he doing?
You never hear his name. Like you never hear. I forgot that he was the number 1 pick last year last year because you never heard of him.
No, he showed signs of life last year. He did. He started out. He was shooting like 13% from the floor. And everybody was, railing away about what a horrible pick it was, and this guy was never going to develop into a pro. And then he started to really come on. I believe he incurred some kind of an injury that set him back. I'm not sure if he's playing a lot this year. It's hard to imagine that they would have Cade Cunningham, and also I don't know who did they draft this year. They were a lottery pick again.
The Ivy kid, Jaden Ivey, is the guy that they drafted this year.
Oh yeah, that guy looked great in college, did he not? I mean,
he's 15, 4-4. I mean, he's having a good year. Cunningham's never there. Cunningham's not only the last game and didn't play. He wasn't even listed as so he's like.
He must be injured or something. Yeah, there's got to be something wrong with this guy. We'll find out from Grant Long, and also, I mean, we can't spend 20 minutes talking about the Pistons, but it is curious to me how certain teams are just awful forever. The Houston Rockets being of the same variety now. Now we could point directly at the owner there, who is one of the few owners that anytime his name pops up, we absolutely despise this guy because he was an asshole to us. An ignorant asshole in a brief interview, and you could just tell that this guy was no fun to be around. Tell him Fertitta, he had no sense of humor, no sense of conversational, being at least a little bit tolerant of something that wasn't exactly scripted the way that he wanted it to be. And, he kind of insulted us that we were paupers and knew nothing about owning a basketball team. Like how close have we come to owning a basketball team? And the truth is not close because we didn't get lucky like you, Tillman. I mean, maybe you deserve every penny that you had. Obviously, they're very successful businessmen. They had restaurants and now own casinos and all kinds of stuff. And his family was part of the origins of the UFC, which we also whiffed on because we thought he was involved in that. And sure enough, he says, well, that's my brother. I'm like, okay, so you hate your brother too. I mean, feel like we're in good company, I guess, if you hate everybody. So that's good. But how are they lousy forever? 10-34, Houston Rockets. And didn't they get like a bunch of stuff in exchange for James Harden when they traded him to the Brooklyn Nets? They must have gotten considerable compensation for that, and weren't able to make anything happen with that. That's incredible. Inept.
Well, I mean, the same organizations, and we saw it in football for years, but they've gotten better. The Lions, the Browns, the Rams have had, the Cardinals have had moments of excitement. Like the Kings have been bad forever. The Pistons have now been bad forever. The Cavs were until this year after they finally got someone to come. They made a move. Like you see that the Knicks have been bad forever. This year,
the Cavs were showing a little bit of signs of life, though. I mean, they were always devastated by the departures of LeBron James, and didn't after he left the first time for the Miami Heat, didn't the Cavs did they fall completely apart at that point? But they started to rise up again. After he left the second time, they weren't as bad as people thought originally. I think this is my recollection of it. But then caved in because obviously they didn't have the goods anymore. But they started to make strides, and you saw signs of life with the Cavs. I think last year, and obviously this year they made the move and picked up some talent and ended up being a pretty decent team. In fact, they're one of the surprise teams so far of this NBA season, as they sit there second behind Milwaukee and not that far behind Milwaukee in their division at 28-17. So, I mean, they at least are trying to come up with something. But how are you inept forever? Yeah, I mean, the same was true of the Phoenix Suns. Same was true of the Philadelphia 76ers for a long period of time. And it remains to be seen if the 76ers can ever get it over the top. I'm not sure that they're going to, but they're playing some decent basketball now. And Joel Embiid certainly is an MVP candidate. And, that guy, what is it, Maxey? He's fantastic. Wow.
The Sixers, yeah, he's legit.
Holy shit, is that guy fast. He's unbelievable. And James Harden, you just never know what you're going to get from James Harden. He seems to be playing at a very slow pace, even when he's effective. Doesn't he? I mean, like he's slowed down from what he was when he already looked like he was in slow motion when he was a great player with the Houston Rockets. So interesting to see that, what they end up doing.
He's a different dude. Like he's still there and he's better than we give him credit, but he's not a superstar. And that's where when people were jumping on the Sixers, I was like, okay, I think you're expecting a lot of James Harden that I don't know if he still has.
Very nice. James Sarney says Paxlovid must be started no later than 5 days after the onset of symptoms. So that's already gone.
Right? Past that.
Shit out of luck. All right. That's the way it goes. All right. A lot of stuff happening there. So we'll have Grant Long on. We'll talk some NBA again. We'll get into it with Grant Long. Tony's going to join us later on. Tony Segreto, old school.
Yes, sir.
Tony was featured in that thing about the 72 Dolphins, which I've yet to see. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it either.
All right. And so we'll talk to him about that and many other things. And I'm sure he had a lot of opinions about the football games and what's on tap here. College basketball, kind of interesting, Lubie.
Yes. What did you have? You don't have bets? Does Francesco bet on college basketball?
No, he doesn't know anything about. Well, he doesn't know anything about football, really. But
I was going to say he doesn't know anything about that.
I mean, he follows football. He's betting. He's on a betting app. Where he bets everything. His main betting sport, besides horse racing, obviously, is soccer. He loves betting soccer.
Yeah, but you're not going to. You book his soccer bets?
No, I only the football. I actually took over as his bookie in this proposition. He used to have a one-on-one thing going with this guy named Levine, who was out on the tennis courts all the time. Bob Levine was a very good senior player, right? One of the. I guess he claimed to be some championship caliber amateur level senior player. He was very good. I mean, I couldn't beat him. Probably couldn't even take 2 games off of the guy in 2 sets. But it doesn't look like. I mean, it's not like you're out there and you're saying, "Holy shit, this guy looks like a young Andre Agassi." I mean, but just one of those guys that hits every ball back, knows where to put the ball, and he has good form and puts every shot in the perfect place. And so you're running around a lot if you're scrambling. If you're trying to manufacture a game like I have, this guy is going to slaughter you. But he was involved with Francesco in the one-on-one thing, and then I guess they lost touch with each other. So that's when I took over the reins there, thinking, and Levine had confided in me that this was the easiest money a man could make. It's not really about the money. And it's funny. In the end, I would say this, Francesco at this point, I mean, depending on what we do with the Super Bowl, which usually, whoever is behind, we allow the other guy to bail out and go double or nothing on the Super Bowl, right? So, say, in this case, he's now down 10 units, and there aren't 10 games left in the season. So I would have to come out on top. But I will allow him, since it's already a minor amount of money, I will allow him to go double or nothing on the Super Bowl and hand me what he thinks is going to be the Super Bowl loser, which I don't know. I mean, are people ignoring the obvious right now? I know you're in love with the 49ers, as is the rest of the country, and for good reason. They seem to have all of the momentum going, but, the one giant question mark is, does Brock Purdy hold up in a Super Bowl situation? Or does some sharp defensive coordinator, let's say they're going against, Philadelphia, even in the NFC Championship game, Do they find a way to decode this kid and finally put enough pressure on him that he starts making bonehead mistakes, which would be much more characteristic of Mr. Irrelevant than having him play as polished a game as a young Tom Brady might. Well, we'll see. I mean, he's acquitted himself very well. There's no reason to really doubt this kid at this point. But are we overlooking the obvious? I mean, is the Super Bowl, does it boil down to the 2 number 1 seeds who we haven't seen yet? Because everybody was so entertained by the wild card that nobody's mentioning Kansas City or Philadelphia as a possible Super Bowl champion. Think about that for a second, Lubie. These were teams that were on the shelf there, resting up and getting themselves ready to go and play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, aren't those teams, both of them, the way they played during the course of the season, capable of winning 2 games over any of these teams that are left in the field?
Well, most people have them as, the other number 1 seeds. Like, most people treat the Eagles the way I'm treating the Niners. And it's not like I have all the respect for Purdy. I mean, I know what Purdy is. That team, the Eagles are loaded. The Eagles have a lot of talent. To me, the Niners have another notch. They just have another. Like, Miles Sanders is a nice running back. He's not Christian McCaffrey. Brown is a really good receiver, really good. He's coming to his own. He's not Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is, outside of Tyreek Hill, the scariest weapon in all of football to me, Deebo Samuel, because he's not super fast, but he's big, he's strong, and when he gets out in the open field, no one seems to catch him. And Greg Kittle it's either him or Kelsey, the best tight end in football.
Yeah, Kittle's great, yeah.
And then that guy Ayuk is someone that a 4th guy, like, no team has 3, let alone 4 guys. So I'm not trying to, like, Eagles fans. I didn't realize Eagles fans, I've never dealt with them, are very delusional. Like, they're very angry. The Eagles, oh my God, it's going to be so easy. And I'm like, what do you want? I understand you guys have fallen in love with Jalen Hurts, and that's fine. But, like, the Niners have more talent than you.
Yeah.
They do.
It's funny. I mean, as great as Philadelphia played during the season, you kind of need to see one since they were off the radar this past week. And, Hurts was playing with an injury, and we don't know exactly how that's going to affect them when the supposed intensity ratchets up a little bit in the postseason. Giants, a formidable opponent for them, and played them well during the regular season. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting because the Chiefs now, I mean, especially after watching Cincinnati and Buffalo struggle the way they did in the first round, certainly loom as a very strong possibility, to go all the way and win 2 games. They're perfectly capable of beating Jacksonville. Most people would expect that. And so they're either going to face Cincinnati or Buffalo. And even though I guess the Buffalo game would be in a neutral site and the Cincy game would be at home, which Cincinnati still kind of got jobbed in that whole equation there by not having any opportunity to end up with the home game.
Why did you make both? I don't understand. Like, I know
Kansas City was a game better than Cincinnati, and they didn't get a chance to win that game. So
couldn't have caught them. Fine. Once the Chiefs won, it wouldn't have mattered. Fine. But Cincinnati could have caught the Bills. Like, why do the Bills get the benefit? Well, they didn't get a chance to catch them. Yeah, but Cincinnati didn't get a chance to catch them. I guess you don't want to keep taking away home games.
Right. Cockamamie.
Why not make that a neutral site? Why not? Yeah. Like, I don't understand why.
I'm surprised they didn't play the game in Mexico City and try to capitalize in on a little international impact there, or London or something. That would have been great. The other thing is weird now. Is it true that you had the Cowboys who played on Monday night? Are they playing on Saturday?
Yes.
That's kind of weird.
Totally screwed, which is wonderful. Of all the teams that get screwed, let it be Jerry and his boy.
That's really exceptional. I mean, that you would schedule the 2 teams that played on the Monday night to possibly come back and play on Saturday. But I believe that's the case. I think the Cowboys game
They play Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. Okay. Well, that makes far more sense.
And they're the latest game too. They're not only Sunday; they're Sunday at 6:30.
All right.
They're playing the Niners out west, so I guess they get a day there at least.
Jim Sarney asked a couple of questions here. I did want to get into this Australian Open. It's been fascinating, even in the early rounds. You did have Coco Gauff going last night. Tough second-round matchup against Emily Raducanu, who was the darling winner of the U.S. Open. Was that 2 years ago? Raducanu, and she was in against Leylah Fernandez, and it was like 2 15-year-olds were playing for the championship. And so that's a tough second-round draw. Raducanu really tailed off after winning that major last year, so she dropped significantly in the rankings, lost a lot of her ranking points, and ended up as a second-round opponent for Coco Gauff. Coco, who you're thinking, wow, I mean, hasn't been really spoken of enough because she was on the threshold of a giant breakthrough year last year. If she didn't have what you would consider to be a breakthrough year, what is she? Is she 20, 21 yet? Did she make
Oh,
it into her 20s or
she's
still
like
19?
18 or 19. Yeah, Coco Golf.
Yeah. So, I mean,
She's
she
young.
remains a remarkable story and a local story of some significance. But she did knock off Raducanu last night at the Australian Open in straight sets. So kept her thing going and survived already a tough match. Rafael Nadal knocked out of the tournament already. Lubie, can you imagine?
Really?
Number 1 seed, yeah.
Oh, Jesus, really?
He's playing a guy named McDonald, an American who had a nice first round win. And McDonald somehow was up 6-4. I don't know if Nadal was hurting coming into the tournament, but he definitely yanked something at the tail end of the second set, which he was trailing at the time, and but was in a position maybe to pull that second set out. Ended up losing the second set, went off the court, got treatment, came back for the third set. He seemed to be very compromised in terms of his movement, and then ended up dropping the third set as well. A lot of people thought he was going to retire after the second set, but that is not in Nadal's nature. So Nadal, who the hourglass is definitely filling up with sand there. In terms of his chances of winning more majors, and the injuries continue to become more and more inhibiting and impeding to him. And it's a variety of different stuff. This looked like a hip injury, and it was a different hip than the last hip injury he had. And it just seems like his chances of winning more majors are, probably going more towards nil. You can never write him off in the French Open if he's healthy, but that's the giant if at the top of the sports eye chart. And meanwhile, Joker with a taped up leg and some questionable conditioning circumstances coming into the tournament. It looked good in his first round match. So with Nadal out of there, and not even he wouldn't have been a threat anyway. The way he was playing against this McDonald kid, I mean, it didn't even look like Rafa Nadal out there. So interesting stuff happening right there. This Jessica Pegula, the daughter of the Bills owner.
Yes.
Who wouldn't necessarily have if you were like a billionaire's kid, Lubie, do you think you would be motivated to become one of the top athletes in the world in an individual sport, no less? Or would you have the drive, the push to do what it takes to? And she's gotten herself into much better shape than she was a couple of years ago, and seems to be really blossoming, and maybe sitting there on the threshold of a breakthrough as well. And she's won her way into the third round of the tournament. But an interesting story because. I mean, I just was reading an article from in the Post about Marie Osmond is not giving any of her kids any of her money. Right? How much money? How much money does she have? Right? No inheritance. They don't believe in inheritance. The Osmonds
at all. I sort of under the Bill Gates model is interesting to me, where he giving most of his money away to charity, but when you look at what he's giving his kids, it's still millions.
Yeah.
So cool. Like I'd rather my kids not be spoiled brats and learn themselves. But
if you can make somebody's life that especially a direct descendant a lot easier.
Why not? What are you doing with? Like I'm all about helping charities, but your kids, you can give them a couple mil. They'll be.
If I had a couple of million, I'd give it to my kid right now. I'd just say, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing if you want, but otherwise, you don't have to worry about a thing. I mean, you don't want your kid to be a lazy slob, obviously. You want them to explore all of the options that they have. But, Maurice Osmond's still around, so it's not like she was going to be giving these kids the money there, and they were just waiting for the day that, you don't want your kids rooting for your death. I always told that to Jesse. Don't root for my death because I might be empty at the time. That should be the title of my autobiography, no? But good stuff going on all over there. Swiatek, Iga Swiatek seems to be a forgotten commodity. I think, she's obviously a major threat to win the whole thing. And on the women's side, and the Joker has a chance to become the all-time Grand Slam champion this year. Seems to be in a pretty good position to do that. But men's competition is unbelievable, and Alcaraz is out of the tournament. I was watching some Alcaraz. That I couldn't find the live action for the Australian Open yesterday, and I obviously had a lot of time to just lay around and do nothing and watch TV. So not that that's uncommon, but. I was watching some old classic from last year matches, and two of them featured Alcaraz. My God.
What happened to him? He already lost, or he's just not even in?
No, he had an injury of some sort. I'm not sure exactly what it was, and I'm not sure it's very severe. But, man, what a player this guy was last year.
He's fun. I like him.
Oh, my God.
Got me watching tennis again. Like, he's just fun.
I mean, those are bloodbaths. And then, he's so entertaining when he's out there because you can ride along with him. the
Yeah,
entire time, and he has that confidence that no matter what the situation is, he's still alive, right? And you love seeing that. He had a couple of very, very emotional matches, including a big one. They showed a replay. I guess it was a quarterfinal match against Kekmanovic. This guy Kekmanovic, who's a pretty solid player and a Serbian player. And these two guys, I've never seen two guys wail on a tennis ball like this. And it ended up being they only play a best of three in the Miami Open. And he ended up moving on a tiebreaker where he was trailing in the tiebreaker and had been kind of behind the entire time. Both of those guys, and it was odd, too, because they were wearing the exact same outfit, I guess, representing whatever clothing line. It must be Nike or something or Adidas. And they both looked, similar. And yet, I mean, the strokes were incredible. I mean, so to have this guy out of the tournament obviously is a huge factor and maybe a nice clearing point there for Djokovic, who still has to face some, really top talent if he's going to win the championship. So, but he was welcomed back by the people in Australia. A lot of people thought that, because he went through that whole rigmarole last year with COVID, that and he was actually, thrown out of the country and deported out of Australia because he didn't get the vaccine. But the tennis fans didn't care. They were just as happy to see him there this year, and he was welcomed back with great applause and aplomb, and they certainly recognized what a tremendous champion Novak Djokovic is. And what was the other thing Sarni had? He had something else in. His big question is: are the playoffs better with the Cowboys in it?
See, I don't know. I never think.
I mean, if Brady's alive, is it not just as big, if not bigger, than the Cowboys? Brady versus the 49ers for a chance to go to the NFC Championship game? Are you kidding me?
Look, I'm sure the NFL wouldn't mind having Dallas and the Eagles, or Dallas eventually taking on the Bills, a rematch of like the early 90s, maybe, and the Bills have become the story. Sure. I don't know. To me, the NFL is so big now, like that. Does it matter stuff? No, that's the NBA. Like the NBA needs certain teams to sort of there's no lazy fan.
There's an obsession with the Lakers, and obviously they have LeBron James, which is one reason to focus in on him. But and James is making a very strong case. I think this will always be one of those hypothetical debates that no one will ever agree with you if you're on the side of James. But that he has had the greatest career of any NBA player. Is that possible? At 38 years old, and you look at the stuff that he's doing, and it figures to continue for at least another year or two, maybe at this level, and maybe, who knows? I mean, he may not have the same number of championships as Michael Jordan, but
he's pretty decorated.
can you say that LeBron James' career is equally as illustrious as Michael Jordan's?
I mean, in many
is
ways,
that an outrageous misrepresentation of fact? I don't think so. I mean, it's very, very debatable.
If you look at his stats right now, it's as good as any season outside of like a Wilt season ever.
And also the longevity. I mean, the longevity is incredible.
He's 38.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid.
He's 20 years in the league, and he's doing this.
Like, it's dumb.
Michael was already starting to show signs of unraveling.
He had already retired once. Like, that's the thing about Jordan. Like, he retired once, missed pretty much 2 years, and then retired again decently early. Like
he happened to be, obviously among the greatest players ever, and played with a great team for a long period of time that was intact. Yeah. Whereas James has jumped around a little bit, made any team that he has been on a title contender, except this year, obviously, in need of having, some help. He's got injuries all the time that he has to deal with, and and minor breakdowns of his own. But wow, I mean, to do what he's been doing at 38 years old. If Anthony Davis is a guy that plays, is one of these guys that plays every game, then, maybe he does end up approaching 6 rings. What does he have? 4 altogether?
He has 4 rings.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick time out here and connect with Grant Long. Have you spoken to Grant? Is he ready to go?
I talked to him yesterday. I haven't talked to him now. I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah, sometimes suspect in the morning with that hour differential. I think he forgets about that. He's in that central time zone. But we love Grant. I mean, he's as candid as any guy that we ever have on talking about the NBA. And, he speaks with tremendous insight and experience. So Grant Long going to join us. We'll talk some NBA basketball coming up. Then Old School with Tony Segreto in the 8 o'clock hour. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and bearing with us here. It was COVID-19. You know what I mean? Is there any solution for this? Right? I mean, do I bother calling these people and get whatever medication, is commensurate with trying to knock this thing out of your system once and for all? Everybody's a doctor too, man. Everybody knows more about it than even the people in the medical field.
It is funny to me though. You're not wrong. It's like Mayo when you because you're like
super hypochondriac though, man. Super,
and you're like whatever. Then I don't know. We didn't even know you were taking the test. You're like positive. Mayo. It was like he did a touchdown dance. It was like why would you?
He's so happy, yeah, that he was right. Mayo has a real unfortunate thing where his desire to be right. I guess it's true of anybody in the sportscasting business also. Where you just don't want to be like dead wrong about games because people are afraid to admit that they really don't know anything, right? But we supposedly have all of this insight and information. And we watched everything. A lot of guys played sports at different levels, and then it turns out you can't pick your nose when it comes to picking games. All right. We'll come right back with Grant Long. Always a lot of fun to talk to Grant. I can't wait to get him on the show here. Coming up in just a moment. Now that
the time
it's 7:43.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Long joins us here on the show. All right, in your days at Romulus, if a guy was chucking him from 40, would he get beat up after school? I mean, this is Michigan basketball now, Detroit basketball.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have to wait to after school.
Start your day with a cup of Defo. It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good to be with you here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and always a pleasure for us to welcome this gentleman into the program. As joining us now from the Detroit Pistons broadcast team, and of course, what was a beloved member of the original Miami Heat, played with the Heat for many years, 15 years in the National Basketball Association, We welcome to the show the great one himself, Mr. Grant Long. Grant, how are you, my friend? Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, sir.
Lubie, what's up, man?
What's going on, my
it's
friend?
been far too long, man. I'm getting a sense that I've been replaced as the number one guest on the Defo Show.
No. Not ever possible. I mean, and especially when it comes to hoops, nobody more candid. I mean, I can tell you this, and it's always great when people that normally would be hypercritical of anybody that was doing any type of broadcasting tell you, hey, man, I love when you have Grant Long on the show. The guy brings it to the table like nobody else when it comes to NBA analysts. Do we start with the macabre, though? I mean, we were asking this question, and, what happened to Cade Cunningham, number one, and How have the Pistons perpetuated this cycle of being at the bottom of the Eastern Conference again, or right there knocking on the door with Charlotte? What's going on there in Detroit? If you can give us a little capsulization of where they're at.
Well, it seems like the injury bug consistently bites this team. And obviously, when you have the number one pick in Cade Cunningham, you think he's on his way to start getting better. That just hasn't happened because Cade has not been able to suit up. And it's been a big time detriment to this team, because they were going in the direction of then you add Killian Hayes to the mix, a lottery pick as well, and Jaden Ivey this year, another lottery pick. So these guys were supposed to push this team out of mediocrity, and it just hasn't happened because the main cog is Cade Cunningham, and he has not been available. And they're struggling. They're struggling to play defense. They're struggling to play offense. There's not a category, I believe, that they are top 10, top 5, top 20 in the NBA in. And you're just not going to win basketball games when you can't do something well consistently. And that's what the Pistons are finding themselves in right now. They can't do anything well consistently. They'll have one game or one quarter where they'll play good defense, where they'll get their offense going. But the other 3 quarters, they go back to their old selves a lot. It's a matter of, first of all, they're being very young and still learning their way, guys. It's a tough transition from college when everybody feels like they're the man. And all of a sudden you get to the NBA and you have to play with 4 other guys who are the man on their team in college. And it just doesn't happen so easily. And they're finding that out.
Grant, okay, so it's funny. Athletes hate the word injury prone. And you would really think that there's not teams that are injury prone or cursed, but you do see the same teams with the same issues year in, year out. It's in football and basketball. As a player, like I remember Shaq years ago when he went to the Suns, he lamented the Heats, which is a joke because the Heat are as good as anyone when it comes to this stuff. But like, can you feel if an organization handles this stuff well, if an organization handles stuff poorly? Like year in, year out, the Pistons seem to deal with this. And there are a few organizations that deal with injuries every single year when other organizations don't.
Well, you're right, and I think they are dealing with it well. But I think when you have injuries like this, it also proves the point that your bench is not as well as you thought it was. And a lot of teams don't put a whole lot of attention into their benches because the teams that do suffer those injuries and are still able to maintain a winning record, you have to look to who they're bringing off the bench. If their bench is fortified and very good, then they're going to pick up the pace and continue to move forward. But if you don't have a bench and you're not invested in that bench, it's really going to tell on you when one of your star players go out or one of the guys that you consider main contributors. When those guys go out and you don't have a good bench, it's really going to tell them. And I think that's where the Pistons are too. They don't have a very deep bench. You look at scoring; they've got 1 or 2 guys who can put points on the board, and they sometimes even outscore the starters. But that's far and few between. So you look at your bench players. You don't fortify your bench. When you get players that get hurt that are going to the NBA and sports, you're really going to suffer. And you have to invest in your bench if you're going to be consistently good.
Grant Long with us here on the show. So what's the reaction around town? I mean, is there a movement on to get Dan Campbell to coach the Pistons? That would be interesting, too, to see him eat like a live animal during the pregame speech. Yeah, if you were in the locker room. And privy to that, just to get the team motivated to go out there and get off to a quick start.
Dan Campbell, that's nice. That's a pretty good one, Defo. I like that. They need something with some shock value right now, and I feel bad for these guys because when you sign up, obviously they're living out their dream, but certainly you don't think. And I can attest to this because remember, I'm living out my dream as a Miami Heat player the first year, and we lose our first 17 games in a row. Who signs up for that? Yes. Nobody does. Yes. So when you think about these young players now who are struggling with the Pistons, this is not what they signed up for. Yeah, they're living their dream out, but it is certainly not what they signed up for, and not as easy as they're finding out. Also, it's not as easy as they thought it would be. So it's a lot of work to be put in, and they've got to continue to do it. They've got to continue to believe in themselves. And one day it'll happen, and then they'll pick up from there and play more consistent on the right side.
It had to be. I remember that first year. I was such a huge Heat fan. I was so glad we had basketball here. A huge basketball fan at the time. Still was playing a lot of recreational basketball with my buddies, and we couldn't be more excited than to go to all of those games. And even while getting walloped, but the great mystery was where did they get the other basketball from after you had lobbed it into the Bermuda Triangle of hoops, Ronnie Cycli. And in an indoor game, it was rare to have a lost ball, especially a ball the size of a basketball.
Right, and listen, man, Cycli was our go-to guy. He
Yeah.
gets behind a lot for being the black hole, but it was fun to play with him. And he was our guy. He was the guy of the moment with the Miami Heat during that era, and everything was just around him. As you know, Defo, you were there.
Yeah,
It was built around Ronnie Cycli being a dominant in the NBA. And,
well, he ended up quitting himself.
He had a decent career.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, you kind of broke up there a little bit on us, but no, he quitted himself pretty well. I mean, he was so mechanical coming out of college. It wasn't. I mean, there are certain guys. I guess Zoe was like this. Wasn't he very mechanical as an offensive player?
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't like he became Larry Bird later on, but he did improve his fluency, let's say, as an offensive player, and looked a little bit more natural in his movements to the basket. All right, let's get into some stuff here. And this is an interesting one. I was watching a report about this, and we had talked about this, thinking maybe this was one of the great swindles of all time in NBA history, even though it involved an all-star. The Doncic Trae Young draft day trade. And in that draft, interestingly, in the second round, Dallas not only got Doncic in the first round with the trade with the Hawks, but got Jalen Brunson in the second round, which helped catapult them into a contending position, and likely year in and year out, as long as they have Doncic, they have a chance to build something around him. Do you think the Hawks, doomed themselves in that transaction by getting Trae Young? As talented as he may be, he does represent that guy that was shooting from the Coke machine with no conscience from 40 feet away.
Listen, the Hawks got sleep.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
It's phone.
We kind of got a bad connection there with Grant. Maybe we can, kind of reconnect there with Grant Long, because we certainly want to get more of his thoughts here. And then in short order, we'll be talking to Tony Segreto also. Tony's going to join us via video from wherever he happens to be. I hope he's, having a good time up there in Vermont, which is where he loves to be. And he seems to catch a lot of sporting events, in spite of him being buried there in the snow. But I don't think there's, any debate about who got the better of that transaction there. And I don't know what prompted. I mean, did the Hawks do one of those Clyde Drexler deals where they thought, well, we already have, something like Doncic? There was nothing like Doncic. Grant back with us? Okay, good. All right. We kind of lost your thoughts there as you were breaking up, Grant. But you were saying that, Atlanta definitely got hosed and may have buried themselves for a long time.
I think so. And because you have to look at Luka. You don't look at what Trae's doing. You look at Luka and what he's doing. He is going to be a top NBA as long as he's playing. He's going to be vying for an MVP of the league as long as he's playing. And I don't think Trae Young is going to ever be in that situation. He's a fine player, a good piece, but he's not the piece. And I think Luka Doncic is the piece, not only for his team, but for the NBA. This is a guy that, when you think about who talks about him, I remember LeBron James, even the late Kobe Bryant, had eyes on this guy when he was playing overseas and said he would be the guy. He was going to be the next big thing coming into the NBA, and he is certainly not disappointed. And give kudos to Mark Cuban, because he saw it, recognized it, and said, I got to have that guy. And whatever he said to the Atlanta Hawks to convince them to, hey, make that draft day trade. But whatever he said, give him kudos, because he made it work.
Well, look, Trae Young's a special player, but like you said, he's not Luka. Luka's, you're not going to be an MVP candidate, which Trae Young is not. A team that does have MVP candidate in Jimmy Butler, a guy, especially when it comes to playoff time, the Miami Heat have gotten out of the gate weird. Right now, they are hovering around the 6-7 seed, and they're within earshot of the 3-4 seed. So they're sort of finding their footing. But it's interesting to me, like when you look at the Heat and the Warriors, like two teams that were NBA Finals contenders after last season and going into this season. Like, Grant, you played a long time in the NBA. Like, when a team is full of veterans, is there a complacency that sets in? Like, it feels like to me, both these organizations know they're going to get there. So they're like, which I don't know if they will or they won't, but like, it feels like there's sort of a complacency that sets in with organizations when you bring back the same group of guys year in, year out.
And listen, that is a tough one. That is so tough to coach and as a player be involved in. It's like trying to coach a team after you've won 10 in a row. What are you going to tell your guys to keep them motivated? Because if you won 10 in a row, they think that they're doing everything right.
Yep.
In the Heat, they've been atop the NBA for so long, and it's like now, okay, we understand when to turn it on. We understand that the postseason is coming. We're going to pace ourselves to get there. We don't have to be the number one seed. We just have to get there because we know when we get there what we're capable of. And I think that's where the Heat is right now. If you go back to all the San Antonio Spurs and the success that they've had when they had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, those three guys were always the focal point. But they always seem to get some new, fresh bodies in to keep those guys motivated to shoot for another championship, to shoot for a better record. Because you have to keep pushing those guys. They've been to the mountaintop time and time again. What motivates them to get there again? You got to put some young guys around them that have not been to the mountaintop, because now they're going to push and play a little bit harder because they want to achieve that success. And in turn, that also motivates your three nucleus type players in Ginobili, Parker, and Tim Duncan. I think that's where the Heat is right now. Yeah, they're going to be a good team, but they've got to get those younger guys around them to be major contributors to get them there. But once they get there, then the Jimmy Butlers and the Kyle Lowrys will take over and win basketball games in the postseason for you. But right now, it's just important to get there and maintain some level of consistency and be playing your best basketball and moving toward the end of the season after the All-Star break. The Heat doing one good thing right now. They're playing well at home, and that's always a good thing, playing well at home.
We were talking earlier about how teams are in a position much like Detroit, where they're in the lottery a couple of years in a row, 2-3 years in a row, and they still can't seem to show any signs of life. I mean, you're looking at the Rockets, Orlando, in that situation, and you see teams go through these syndromes. We saw it for a long time with the Philadelphia 76ers. It was like, how long is this process, man? I mean, just unbelievable. And now I'm looking at the Pacific Division, Grant Long. There has to be some kind of a typo here. You have the Clippers, Golden State hovering around 500. Phoenix is sub 500 because Booker's been out. And I guess Chris Paul is not, maybe he's showing signs of wear and tear finally. The Lakers have had injury problems, as they do, and don't have a great deal of depth, even though LeBron's having a great season. Sacramento is atop the division with a winning record? Isn't that the one team that you guys considered? I mean, if you had any options to make a no trade clause, it was like, don't ever trade me to the Kings. I don't know if you ever graced their roster. I'm going to say no to that, but because you seem too sane to have ever played in Sacramento. How is this possible? I mean, what happened there?
Yeah, and you're thinking about Sacramento, and they've had a couple of coaching changes over the last few years. At least the last 3 years, they've had two different coaches. So you're certainly not thinking that they're going to be atop the Western Conference. But through everything that's happened, the injuries, Steph Curry going down, the Lakers retooling and still not being able to come back, it opens the door for everybody else to come in and be special, or if not even special, just have an opportunity to be a player in the conference. And that's where Sacramento finds themselves. And you think about who their coach is now, former assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors, and he has found himself with a decent team, but they're playing consistent basketball. They're playing on both sides of the ball. They're playing defense, they're playing offense, and the opportunity was there. It's not like they, if everybody else was at full strength, that they'd be atop the Western Conference, but the opportunity was there, and they took complete advantage of it. So, hats off to them for being here for the moment. Will it last? We don't know. But, hey, listen, the Sacramento Kings are there right now, and they're going to live in the moment. Golden State Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, all those guys have all those teams have the marquee name, but they're not playing like marquee teams. So somebody has to step up and do it. It reminds me of when Chicago was so good, all of a sudden Michael Jordan takes a step back and the Houston Rockets win 2 championships.
Yeah.
Hey, but the cats are away right now, so let the mic play.
It's interesting to me. I mean, I guess they've shown signs of life at different times, but this is phenomenal to think they're in that division and they're atop the division while these other teams are kind of staggering around. Did it bother you at all? I mean, it used to bother the short Jewish kids like me that, the tall kids would get consideration for basketball teams if you were going, in certain leagues or whatever, and they would be the first pick even though they couldn't play a lick. Does it bother you when you see a guy like Jokic, who is a vertical leap, I think might have been eclipsed by even the Whopper, Billy Paultz, back in the day? Like a guy that just doesn't even leave the ground. How is it? I mean, would it be frustrating to play against this guy, Grant Long, as a guy that was a top defender on the inside, used to tangle with guys like that in the paint? To have this guy score like 40 a night when he never leaves the ground. How is he doing it? I think we lost Grant on that note. I thought that was a great. Oh, there he is. There you go.
He is the top of the NBA when it comes to being a skilled player. Yeah, you mentioned he's very slow, methodical in what he does, and that's what he is more so than anything. He's methodical. He thinks out everything. He plans out. He sees it before it happens, and then he executes. So he's that single player. And you look at Luka Doncic in the same way. He's not as fast as everybody else on the floor. He doesn't jump as high, but he's playing a point guard position, and he's 6'8", 6'9", and he's very creative and clever with the basketball. And I remember him coming into the league, and he said the NBA is going to be easy compared to where I used to play overseas. And he's certainly proving that point. It looks easy to him, and it looks easy to Jokic as well, playing the center position. So, hats off to him. The guys are very creative and very skilled, and this is off the beaten path, but I remember Stan Van Gundy, former coach and announcer, saying the players that are coming from overseas are leaps and bounds ahead of the American basketball players because they are taught the fundamentals, and we're not being taught the fundamentals here in our basketball camps. All coaches care about are winning versus teaching the kids how to play. And players overseas get all the fundamentals of basketball. That's how they excel, and we're seeing that Luka and both the Joker.
Yeah, both are great passers and great facilitators for others, and they always seem to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, which is great. And in addition to being able to chuck up threes, and it is pretty remarkable. All right, Grant, always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, Grant, man.
Thank you so much. We will not ignore you. I mean, if you're willing, we want you on the show as much as possible because we love talking basketball with you. And thanks so much for being with us.
We love you, Grant, man. Thanks.
Grant Long, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Will do. Sorry, we had like a kind of a slimy connection there with Grant Long, but nonetheless, great insight. That is amazing. I mean, Jokic doesn't look like he's getting off the ground at all, doesn't he? Or does he? I mean, he looks like he's absolutely planted. He's that guy like the Chief in Cuckoo's Nest, Chief, just run down there and stand under the basket. That's still one of the great scenes in any movie, especially if it had, a little bit of a sports, undertone to it. But here they are playing basketball. And the Chief, when he was cherry picking, was fantastic. All right, speaking of cherry picking, this guy's been cherry picking a life, man. He's unbelievable. He's always out there setting a pace. We love the guy, man. And he was featured prominently, although I didn't see the piece yet. And I can't wait to see it on the 72 Fins. Tony Segreto going to join us here. We'll go old school with Tony. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. And we will continue with Tony Segreto in just a moment. Now that. The time. 8:05.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show, and good to be with you, Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lewitz, and every Wednesday it's always a pleasure to welcome a good friend of the program, and a good friend over the years. The great Tony Segreto joins us here, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. Tony, looking good from the digs in Vermont. How are you, my friend?
Feeling fantastic. Had a great weekend. Just some great playoff games. I mean, and so thankful and grateful that Tom Brady lost.
What do you have against Brady?
I have nothing. I'm just tired of the story. I'm tired. They can't rewrite it. They've done everything they can to rewrite it, and let it rest and let him decide what he wants to do. God bless him. He's had an amazing career. I have great respect and admiration for him, but it's time that the series of books ends.
You didn't feel that way about Serena when bloated Serena was out there saying the headlines from these outstanding young girls that were competing in the U.S. Open last year, and she's coming out there.
I did not.
Like Ric Flair. I mean, in outfits that were commensurate with professional wrestling. And, you didn't know you're watching tennis or the fabulous Moolah, my friend.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But
hey, I mean, the same kind of stature in terms of career. I mean, you could
I don't
say
know.
that,
It's just, I guess it's the personality, how it's handled. I don't know. There's something.
He never says anything, though. I mean, but he seems to be on the good side of things. He does.
Yeah, listen. This is not personal. I'm done with the story. I'm done with. Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? It's like, we're all sitting here wondering. It becomes this big story. I'm done. I'm just over it. I'm happy to see the quarterbacks that are in it. I'm happy to see the teams that are in it. I think it's exciting. I love to see the Giants the way they played. I thought it was a great weekend. You mentioned, by the way, for those of you who are true blue Dolphin fans, guys, men and women who have been around a long time, I implore you to watch that NFL Films Hour special in the 72 team.
Is that just available? Really on demand, or?
You know what? I do not know that.
Because I missed it when it aired, so I feel badly about that.
They're going to re-air the crap out of it, I presume.
That they may. I will tell you this. I thought they did a great job. They basically found Shula's diary of that year, and notes for before every game, and it was in a round table. It was Zonk, Mercury, Larry Little, and Bob Greasy. It was it was just beautifully done. And then it's funny because after I was telling my son and daughter after the show, it was like 10 o'clock, and so I sent both Larry and Mercury a text, saying, "Hey man, you guys were great. It was fun to watch." 1 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings.
Mark?
And you jump out of bed. Whenever the phone rings at 1 o'clock in the morning, it can't be good, right? And I look at the phone, and it's Mercury Morris.
Well, you would have had to just hit decline.
And I go, "Hey man, everything all right? You okay? Chicken okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I just figured I'd call. You watch the show."
Well, you're planning to be up till 4?
We were up until 2:30.
Yeah.
And I finally said, "I gotta go. Can I please go to bed now?"
There's no such thing as a short conversation with Mercury.
No, but it was really well done. And then yesterday, interestingly enough, I got a call from ESPN. They sort of wanted to know my feelings on the show because the show, I did interviews for their 30 for 30, and that's going to air on February 5th at noon, right before the Pro Bowl, right before the flag football game.
All right, good.
So that'll be, and they've got a really good piece too. Interestingly enough, I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I did back-to-back hour-plus interviews with both NFL Films and ESPN, and I was telling my children, they were distinctly different interviews, all about the same subject.
In what way? I mean,
different types of questions, different approaches to it. I'm looking forward to see what ESPN does. And I thought NFL Films did a great job. So we'll see the differences.
Thing that's always been overwhelmingly impressive to me about that whole 72 thing, and it's interesting because by the smallest, most infinitesimal of differentials, you have a team in 72 that could have lost a game or two, and you've had other teams that have approached this, unbelievable, unmatched feat so far, and just fallen short on the smallest, most narrow margins, including your Tom Brady-led Patriots, who came within an eyelash of doing that when they lost the Super Bowl by like a half a yard or whatever that was. Anyway, I mean, when I moved here in '81, Tony, and you were here obviously before that, but I was amazed at the way the fabric of the South Florida community was largely built around a lot of these guys from the 72 team, and that they were revered everywhere, and that they were very much in focus around the community, were involved in a lot of different stuff. And here we are in 23. I mean, 50 years later would have been last year. And it's still the case, that a lot of these guys are just prominent figures. And as soon as you see them, you associate them, A, with that team, and B, with the overall, culture of Miami.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's sort of that's what they took from the interview they did with me. Because what I said in the show, I said during that time, it was football's version of Camelot. There was this love affair. It was magical. It was magical between this community and the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
It was a remarkable love affair, both of which embraced both the football players and the entire Dolphin administration and staff and this community. They appreciated each other. Even the crusty Joe Robbie, who was legendary for being difficult to deal with, would admit, I have never seen anything like this in my life, ever. So I agree with you. Yeah. And I think today they're still rock stars today.
Yeah.
They say,
and you always enjoy coming across these guys. That's the thing.
My gosh. Yeah. And they're willing to chat and talk with you and tell you stories and share stories with you. Exactly. They're still that way. So it was great to see the piece and kind of see everybody like resurrected. It's going to be, I think everybody will enjoy the ESPN piece as well.
Yeah, when John Offerdahl, and I don't know if he's still doing this, the Gridiron Grill Off, which was a terrific food and wine festival that he had staged for, I think, like 15, 16 years.
Yeah, I was there every year. I was I was moderating the judges' tent.
It was. Did you watch Mayo eat? By the way, we'll get into that later on, because it is kind of an interesting thing to see a food critic supposed to be sophisticated and all of this stuff, and just slobbering food in his face. But the thing that always struck me was,
there is nothing. Is there nothing sacred to you? Nothing.
Oh no,
that's not sacred. I mean, it's amazing.
I don't. You know what? I've never seen Michael. I've never seen Michael Mayo eat. I will.
He was a judge at some of these Offerdahl things.
I will. Yeah, but it's different when you judge. They only give you a little.
Not the way he eats. I'm telling you, Tony. I've seen him judge.
Lubie, is there?
Lubie's witness to it. I'm not making this up. This isn't me.
Defo Mayo, I've joined down on making. It's the craziest thing. He will say the most verbose, descriptive explanation about the food.
Yeah, flowery language, all that stuff.
And his eyebrow and his hair. It's like, how did you do both? Like, how did you eat like a slob, but then sound like you're Anthony Bourdain?
Wow. It's crazy, man. Yeah. All right, you'll have to witness this at some point in time. Maybe you'll be lucky. Maybe you'll be spared, and you won't have to. But all you have to do is tune in his show there at 12 o'clock, the Mike Mayo Lunchbox. Alfred used to always feature the 72 guys, and it was interesting because nobody knows these guys. I don't know. I'm sure they still do. They do a lot of valuable community work. I mean, they have the cancer drive and all that stuff, and the cycling event. Look, the Dolphins have always been, out front with a lot of this charitable stuff. But the 72 guys always were the popular draw.
Yes.
Right? I remember Jim Kick when he was still with us, and then, Merck would be together in a booth, and you wouldn't recognize really any of the current Dolphins. They were like, who's that? Oh, yeah, he's Ahmed, that running back. And then meanwhile, everybody's gathering around Merck, to hear him whole court.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Yeah, I would say that you'd go into a room and there'd be a group of 72 guys and there'd be a current group and everybody would be at the 72 table because
Yeah.
they just gravitate to those guys.
Manny Fernandez. I mean, they were real
Oh my
gentlemen
God.
too.
Oh
All these
yeah,
guys.
they were. They really were.
Cooch was still with the
Yeah.
team, like when
Yeah.
I was
They
covering
were
the
fun.
Dolphins.
They
Yeah.
were fun to deal with. I tell you what, one of the I don't know if I should term it sad. Yeah, one of the saddest things I ever saw was there was this push. So many people wanted Cooch to make it to the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And
Every year, it was
there
sad at
was
the end.
it was really but there was one year where I was at the Hall of Fame induction and Cooch was there, but instead of sitting in the bleachers or whatever, he was sort of watching between. He was standing up under the bleachers, so watching between legs and feet, and
like the kid at the ballpark in the old days, looking through the knothole.
Yeah, just I wish it.
Same thing happened with Jerry Kramer, though. They finally got him in the last year of his
Yeah.
eligibility. But you know, I mean, when you saw the guy half crippled walking around the room there campaigning with the various radio stations and stating his case, and everybody's asking him about the Hall of Fame, and it became painful after like 14 years of interviewing this guy. But yeah, Cooch was certainly deserving, man. I mean, he was a part of a couple of different hot eras of Dolphin football.
Oh
I mean,
my gosh!
when Zonk and the Sundance Kid, Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid thing was going on, he's blocking for a running game, and then later on, he's a big part of what was going on with Marino.
Yeah. But one of the things they found in this diary is that before the Super Bowl, before the game, Shula actually went to the Coliseum to see what time the sun set. Exactly. Yeah. And he wanted to see where the sun was at a certain time of the day during the game. So it would determine if they had won the toss, whether they would take or kick off and what goal they would defend. It was his attention to detail in this diary was beyond remarkable. Absolutely beyond remarkable.
That's interesting, man. I mean, that's like picking up the writings of any, person considered to be, among the best or the best at what they did. And
oh my gosh, it was like being a voyeur into the world of, and you felt like Shula was right there with you because you and it was all in his handwriting. So it was pretty cool.
Pretty interesting, man. Who found that thing? Wouldn't that be worth some money, Tone? Come on.
Well, no. I don't know the genesis of how it happened. I believe that either Marianne let Zonk know or Coach let Zonk know before he died.
Oh yeah,
where the papers were. That's my guess. Yeah.
Wow, the Valachi papers, man. Unbelievable. That's fantastic. All right. Joining us right now, and this is great, man. You talk about greatness and being the best at what they do. And
I love the background. Look at that.
This
Texas Roadhouse.
Rocking, man.
Woo!
Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. The great Ed Garcia joins us here on the show. Ed, how are you? It looks like he's staying.
Yes. Good morning. Yes. Pretty exciting that Jim's going to stick it out. I think that, as they say in the famous words of Bo, those who stay will forever be champions. So I think he's going to be going after that championship ring. So let's go.
Well, I tell you what, I could hear the roar from the ghost of Ann Arbor past. I could hear you screaming up and down and buying drinks for the bar when it was announced, that he's not going anywhere. But Ed, let me ask you, we've got some big. First of all, how was the last weekend with all of the championship games at Texas Roadhouse?
Oh, it was a fantastic weekend. I mean, I think the cooler weather impacted Florida a little bit and brought in more people, but it was a lot of fun. And obviously it was a holiday weekend as well. So we actually opened some additional hours on Monday to take care of some of those guests that didn't have to work on Monday. And, and it was just really awesome to just see all the happy families and guests coming in to enjoy a great weekend with some hand-cut steaks.
Was there a lot of cheering going on for different teams during different games in the restaurants, I'm assuming?
Absolutely. And it was very strong since we had all Florida teams playing this weekend. Was very, very exciting. Unfortunately, not all Florida teams advanced. However, but yes, there was a lot of cheering and a lot of excitement going on.
So listen, on a weekend like this where we have so many more people than you normally have, and you always have a lot of people, it's always packed. Are there more steaks, more ribs? What is the biggest seller during those weekends?
Well, our sirloin is our number one piece. That is something we hang our hat on. That is something we constantly hear about. How do we get it so tender, and the quality behind it, which again, kudos to our team and our purchasing team, and really kudos to our meat cutters. I mean, that is a skilled art. I'm actually in Tampa today. I am going here right after this call, going to the practice arena for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We rented it out for the day. We flew in approximately 60 of our top cutters from the Southeast United States, and they are going to be cutting off to get to the next round to win $25,000 for being the number one cutter. So,
wow.
Do they have to do this on skates? Is that why you're at the hockey arena?
No,
it's like Gordon Ramsay, man.
It's a great question. Meat, fun fact about meat doesn't freeze till 28 degrees. So ideally, a meat cutter would like to have their beef right about 32. We don't freeze it. We just want it because with a very sharp knife and good control, you can get that perfect 6 ounce, 8 ounce, 11, 16 ounce sirloin. So they cut 3 different loins today, and you add up the scores, and that's what makes them move on to the next round. It's a very cool piece.
I bet. Well, listen, there was a reason I asked you all this, because a friend of mine and his family called me up and they said, "You really think it's worth going to Texas Roadhouse?" Let's go. We wouldn't be talking about it like we do if it wasn't worth going, for goodness sake. Like, that's a stupid question. Go, enjoy yourself. So he and his family went to the Miramar one, and he got the sirloin, his wife got the fish, the kids got whatever they got. And they called me when they got home, and they were like, "Okay, we're sorry, we didn't know this." That's exactly what it was. They enjoyed they first of all, they raved about the food, they raved about the price, but what they really raved about was the atmosphere, the way they were treated, the way they were served, the way the kids had an opportunity to enjoy the experience, and the adults had the opportunity to enjoy the experience, all on different platforms, but all together. So I think that was very cool. And I was walking around, I was strutting around like a rooster in my house, going, "Man, that just validates what we've been saying all the time." Right. So yeah, so it was great. And we get this, and Defo, you can back me up.
Unsolicited, like compliments to Texas Roadhouse is something I see more. Like, I was on Twitter the other day, and a guy that, like, we follow each other with, he literally just wrote, and it was the funniest thing: Texas Roadhouse, salad, sirloin, rolls, done. I was like, okay, that was random. And he just wrote it like out of nowhere, and I was like, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we hear that all the time, Ed. So it's just, we're just so happy to be with you. Now, what do we have planned? I know it's not a holiday weekend, but again, it's championship. We have divisional round this weekend. So again, I think people should know, what do we have? How many TVs do we average in every restaurant?
We have at least 9 in every restaurant, if not more. And, if you're nearby one of our local Bubba's 33, we have that here on the west side of the state of Florida, and going on to 40. They have almost 100 plus TVs. Something very cool to check out. That's our sister concept. Very exciting to see them grow. But, I'll tell you, in Florida, we're in season. So it is, I'm very happy. We are blessed with a lot of business. And thank you to all out there joining us, day in, day out at Texas Roadhouse. However, that mobile app to me is a game changer, because I'm someone that has very little patience. My managers would probably agree. And, so that mobile app, you cut your wait time. I mean, you download it, you put your name right on there. And if you don't want to download it, you can call the restaurant as well, if you're not a tech person, but, just put your name right onto the wait. It'll tell you, hey, 50 to 60 minutes. So you show up at 50 minutes, and then you just wait a couple of minutes, and you can sit down and have that legendary margarita, that fresh baked bread, followed with some of our snake bites, which are handmade jalapeno poppers, and just really, really enjoy a legendary dining experience at Texas Roadhouse.
Well, we're
getting hungry. Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Yeah, man. And have that loaded sweet potato, man.
You open for breakfast anywhere? I'm gonna run right out after the show.
I want to know when the new concept Bubba's is going to open up in South Florida.
We're working on it. Port St. Lucie is the one real estate deal that we're working on right now, and but yeah, they're popping up all over.
Well, Where's the
All right,
closest
sounds
one
good.
that's open in Florida? Where's the one?
So there's Brandon, Wesley Chapel, Panama City, and Pensacola. I want to say are the 4 in Florida, and I'm right by the Brandon location today.
Are you? Okay, great. Well, listen, Ed, thank you so much for everything. Texas Roadhouse, this is the place to go. If you're looking for a place to go this weekend and have dinner, enjoy the football games, bring your family. There's only one place to go. Where is that, guys? Texas
Roadhouse, man. Great
Thanks,
spot.
Ed. Love you,
Have a good
man.
day, guys.
Man, always a pleasure.
Love you.
It is a great spot. No question about it. Tony
Yeah.
Segreto, man, unbelievable. And the Super Bowl party concept is a good one also. I mean,
Oh.
you get all your stuff right there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have to make any of the sides, man. You can even get the stuff for the grill and pick it all up at one spot.
Yep. That's what we're gonna do. We're
You're out the door.
gonna get some sides and grill outside and get ready for the Super Bowl. So, I'll be in Florida. I'll be back. No, I'll be back in Florida by then. God,
Oh, okay. All right.
God willing. We're making some adjustments.
Whatever blizzard is hitting at the time. I mean, give your son
Well,
a break.
yeah. Listen. I will call Lubie later because we have a big snowfall expected Thursday and tomorrow and Friday.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And then a bigger one expected on
So how do you
Monday
get out
and
of there? I mean, in anticipation of this, you leave early or?
Well, I'm here now until
where's the closest airport for you?
I'm driving back.
Oh, you're driving back. Okay.
So you're coming down for a little bit.
Even more dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be depending on how big this snowfall is on Monday. I was hoping to leave by Tuesday, so we'll see what happens.
All right, be careful out there, Tony. Snow tires, I recommend them. Snow tires, that would
I
definitely
got
help.
'em.
How's your driving in the snow? My driving is, sort of declining, even under the most ideal of conditions. I don't know. I mean,
It's good.
I did get hit with the COVID stick, and I was driving around yesterday without knowing that I had this stuff, and feeling a little bit better than
you have COVID.
Yes, right now.
tested positive. Yeah, for the COVID stick. I mean, it was unfortunate.
He feels fine.
I was sick for a couple of days, really, kind of overwhelmingly so, but it just felt like a really bad flu. I mean, it was sort of, had a pretty good vice grip on my body as a whole. And then it started to break a little bit yesterday, and I thought I was fine. And, I never think I have anything. I always think it's always going to be okay. And and I feel really badly because I went to my doctor, who's a friend of mine, to have my toe looked at because, it's kind of in the final stages of healing there finally. And I wore a mask when I went to his office, but I didn't realize I had COVID, or I wouldn't have gone. So I came back home. He said, "Well, you ought to test yourself, just so you know." And sure enough, it showed up positive. And I'm like, unbelievable. But I feel really good today. I mean, way better than I did. It seemed to break.
Have any clue where you picked it up?
I mean, how would you know? I mean, I think there's a whole new strain of this stuff that's out there that people are picking up because a lot of people are getting it. A friend of mine's a nurse at Holy Cross Hospital. And she said that 56 people had to, go into the hospital and be outfitted with beds yesterday alone. 56 people with COVID.
And you're totally boosted.
I had 4 of the shots. I didn't have the 5th one.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, I would say, is it the most favorable development in my life to get it? No. Is it the most overwhelming sickness I've ever felt? I would say no to that also. Because you've been in Florida a long time, and you get some of these wicked flus once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
That literally, I mean, you feel like you just went 12 at Joe Frazier, man, and that's only the first day.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps getting worse, and and it'll linger for like a week or so, and you can't do anything. But this wasn't quite that bad, but it's getting better. A little scratchy throat is about all I have left, of the traces of it. But of course, I call my primary care physician, and you get no call back. There's no concern whatsoever on their part, right? Because if they're not making money, I mean, they're not interested in what's going on with you. How is that? What happened to medical care?
I'm returning your call. Sorry, he passed away.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about it with Catholic Health Services, but I mean, it's ridiculous, right? I mean, for all this guy knows, I'm on my deathbed right now, and they don't even bother to call you back and ask you like, so how you feeling? Which is a little frightening. It really is, because they said if you didn't hear from the doctor, that means they called in whatever medication they're prescribing to your pharmacy. So a few hours later, I called the pharmacy, said, "Hey, did anybody call anything in?" They said, "No, we haven't heard from a soul." So, and that's a guy on Medicare where, they know they're getting paid. If I don't know if they bill for a phone call or something, but they probably could, right, with Medicare and what's going on with that. But no, I think, this particular strain that's going around is affecting a lot of people. But, it seems to be not as threatening as it was like a few years ago. So that's the good news on that. But no, I mean, I wasn't really out and about that much because I've been, staggering around with the broken toe. And so I really haven't been going out as much as I normally would. And so I have no idea. Although I was at a racetrack, Mustang was working, in a bar with a lot of people around. She has it too, which is the other X factor here. So we don't know. All right, but I'm here, Tony. I'm here for you, baby.
Thank
We'll
God.
come back with more Tony Segreto and old school. A lot of stuff to get into. Back with more in a moment. And that.
The time.
It's 8:32.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
By the way, you sound great. I don't know how good I sound, but you sound great.
You sound
great.
really good, Tony. Better than I've ever heard you before, really. Even when we were the regular radio gig there with the Comrex and all the fancy equipment that we had. Lubie set this up last night with a bunch of tape, and he had a couple of paper clips here. Things are falling apart, and yet it sounds
some
brilliant.
bubble gum. I got it.
Yeah. we couldn't be happier than to be doing this. No,
I'm
Cincinnati.
honored.
I knew they were going to clobber everybody the rest of the way. So laying 30 didn't really hurt me that much. And then I did believe it or not, I used some Segreto logic and came up with Syracuse getting 6 in their ball game, and they managed to lose in overtime by 3. So we covered there.
Look at you.
Yeah,
I love Syracuse in that game. I truly love Syracuse.
I don't know how you could love them.
I don't
know about love.
You are such a degenerate.
Love is a strong word there, Tony.
Let's put it this way.
They lost to Florida State.
I know, but they caught me up even, so I'm happy.
Oh, very nice.
No response. No response. I'm not actually.
Well, I don't know. You're dealing with another bookmaker. I don't know.
Yeah, you're lying.
Category, Tony. When other guys are getting 3 points, you're getting 11. I mean, it's crazy.
I got in the Syracuse game. We're talking about 6. I got 15.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. Yeah, of course. It's like you've died and gone to heaven, and the rest of us are in there facing guys like Lipschitz every week with the usual demands. And make sure you're not late on Tuesday. It's like, shut up, Louie. You know what? I'm sick of dealing with you, and I pay every week.
Defo and Lubie love kicking it old school with the legendary Tony Segreto. Big thanks to Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
I love it that Tony has some throw-like utopian betting landscape out there.
How did we do on the parlay?
Terrible. I mean, we got through the first day fine. We were 2-0, and then we got gobbled up.
Who did we take in the second day? How did we play that?
We lost every game. From that point on. That was it. We had we liked San Francisco. That turned out to be correct. And we did like Jacksonville, which looked like a total loser until the second half, a complete turnaround. So that turned out well. But then we went with Chalk City. That we took the 3 favorites the second day of the playoffs. And we sort of gave a little edge to Tampa Bay there over Dallas because Dallas was playing horribly down the stretch, and at least they were winning, but they were winning ugly. And Tampa Bay, Brady, there's always a chance that the league, gets the right officiating team out there. They call a couple of really unnecessary and outrageously, bad roughing the passer calls on Brady on 4th down situations. But no, Dallas was just razor sharp after that second series, and Tampa Bay could do no good. So we would have been 2-4. Where we whiffed was Mike Mayo picked 6 games, and had we gone reverse Mayo, we would have hit for 48-1. Wow, which is what the ratio is on a 16 parlay, 48-1. He lost all 6 games. He was wrong about all 6.
Wow.
I don't know about you. I mean, a lot of people like the Giants. We went against that. I kept thinking, and we asked this question on the Friday show, Degenerate Friday show, and how do we ignore the obvious? This is the thing that really throws me about betting, Tony, and my own personal betting, which is based almost entirely on self-sabotage, right? Because I have some good instincts about stuff, and then you don't act on them, right? And I asked the question: at what point will Viking fans be screaming "fuck Minnesota"? Favored by only 3 at home against a Giants team, and okay, first year, nice job, day ball, everything looked okay. Daniel Jones is all right, but Minnesota has everything going for it in this particular ball game, and they had a much better record. And how do they not? If they win the game, they're going to win by 3 or more. You would think, go ahead.
Giants were playing out of their minds, man.
They played great.
Fun.
Right.
It was absolutely. It was fun to watch. It was just absolutely fun to watch. I have to tell you, to me, and again, I know this is probably maybe going to come out of left field, but Monday Night Football is so much more entertaining watching Peyton and Eli.
It's not even close anymore.
And to see, I thought Peyton's reaction when the kicker missed his 3rd extra point was like, he just got up off the chair and are you kidding me? Which most everybody felt like, right?
Guys are throwing helmets, telling him to go fuck himself. I mean, even on his own team.
Regardless of who you're
spread beaters are thinking, hey, I got Dallas. Is this going to come back to haunt me? What the fuck?
I have never seen anything like that, ever.
It was weird, Tony, and this was another one of those inclinations, and I know there's in-game betting now, but when the guy shanked the second one off to the right, and then you don't even know if Dallas is going to come back and score another touchdown. I mean, for all you know, this is where the game turns. It happens. And Tampa Bay has kind of been like that kind of team where they look awful for a long period of time, but are still hanging in.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, they get the 3rd touchdown, and I swear I would have sent in all the money in the world that he was going to miss it to the left. After doinking, I mean, because I don't understand why they kicked that from the hash mark anyway.
Me either.
What is that? Why wouldn't it be from the center of the field? I mean,
unless I haven't seen enough of his games. Unless that's his nature. That's where.
No, but I mean, isn't that everybody doing that? I mean, you would think that's not everybody. He does that only.
I don't know. I don't. I've never really paid enough attention to it.
Me either. It's automatic. Who cares about the extra point? Yeah. That was unbelievable. But, I mean, and that also changed the dynamic of the game a great deal because it caused Dallas to go for 2 4th-down plays, where they scored touchdowns. And what was great about Aikman, I was watching that, and I really wasn't paying attention because I was kind of half seeing bugs. But Aikman, as the ball is being snapped and they're running this 4th-down play, says, I would have taken the 3. And as he says
yeah, exactly. Boom,
Prescott runs a beautiful fake. Everybody dives into the center of the field like it was electronic football, and all the men fall down. And then you're looking going, my God. I mean, as he's saying, I would have taken the 3, he's coasting in the end zone for the 2-point conversion. I mean, for the touchdown, which was a big differential, obviously, because that, helped bury the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's why people like us and Troy is Hall of Famer. He's there in the booth. They don't know what they don't know what they're really seeing. Some of the coaches are seeing them. There was a brilliant call. It was a brilliant
well executed play there.
Come on, how many people like us who watch football day in and day out? It's been our life. How many of us would not have taken the damn 3? We all would have gone for it.
It was debatable. I mean, you have a chance. You've also only got a 12-point lead, because of the 2 missed extra points prior. But very debatable. I mean, I have the feeling like when you're that close, I believe you go for it. I just do. I don't mean to be like Brandon Staley, and there are times, depending on the scoring dynamic. I mean, obviously, if you're trailing by a point at the time and it's late in the game, okay, kick the field goal maybe. But I mean, you have an early chance to crush the team. You're playing defense well enough. They're doing nothing. Keep them on the 1 yard line if you miss. I mean, and your kicker was suspect, so I would have gone ahead and just go take a chance on that, and it worked.
Well, they did, man. It was brilliant. It was Dak Prescott was about as good as I've ever seen him play.
He played good, yeah. No, I played well. No doubt about it. All right, but I mean, and you're happy to see Brady knocked down. I see, now I see Brady coming back, and for some reason,
yeah, I see him coming back.
I see him coming back as a Buccaneer, which I don't know. Does that hold the Buccaneers back from making any progress? I think Todd Bowles is more of a problem there than Tom Brady is. Although Brady,
I think Brady wants
as you
out
start
of
to see
Tampa.
signs of life. I mean, you also see where he is just absolutely struggling.
Everyone assumes he's going to Vegas because he wants to go back out west, and they need a quarterback, and they're a ready-made team, and he with McDaniels and all that. I don't know what the hell he does. I really don't. Like, to me, it's at this point he's just. He seems like he's done. What is there to add?
Here's the thing, and this is what I'm talking about. I remember when you talk about sage wisdom.
Yeah.
When I retired, I knew in my heart it was the right thing to do. I just knew it. But
you haven't retired, Tony. You're still
involved.
No,
but I'm talking about
from the big job there. Yeah,
the daily grind.
Yeah.
This older gentleman who I loved and adored wasn't Bernie, but who just had this insightful, very steady way about him. Said to me, I said, well, I just hope I'm doing the right thing. He goes, listen, the only thing your legacy is set. You can't, you're not going to add much to that legacy anymore. The only thing you can do is hurt the legacy.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about that, and I really never thought about it that way. He goes, to me, this is, if you feel deeply inside that you should be doing this, then do it. And don't let legacy get in your way. So my point with Brady is his legacy is set. I do not want to see this great player with 7 Super Bowls and all these MVPs and all these like untouchable records, okay, become this doddering old quarterback like we saw with a lot of the other guys who decided to come back.
Johnny U, Joe Willie.
They just do you want to have that as the memory of this great player when he's going to get $300 million to sit in the booth for Fox?
Yeah.
For God's sakes. I mean, come on. Right.
I hope he says something and is an exciting color analyst. He could be if he wanted to be. Because he knows everybody going back 20 years of playing with these guys. And then he knows the young guys and their mentality. He knows what's good and bad about coaches. He was coached by the best in the business, unless you want to concede that. I'm sure you would to Shula, but Belichick right there, in any conversation about the greatest ever. Would offer tremendous insight into situational stuff if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, because of the way he's handled himself in all of these press conferences and various, I mean, it's not like he's been the most, accessible interview. I mean, even though he does speak to the media,
he's very guarded. He reminds you. He reminds you a lot of Jeter.
I mean, they're similar. He says a little more than Jeter, but and it seems friendlier than Jeter did with the media. But it seems like he never really says anything of any substance whatsoever.
No, zero. Absolutely zero.
I mean, you wish he'd would embellish a few things. Obviously, I mean, he's got stories about Gronk and this and that. And so if he brings that to the table, I mean, he would justify the $300 million. Whereas, as you mentioned, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman offer literally nothing. And then I saw some clips. I wasn't watching the Manning cast. I didn't even know they were doing it. And I'm thinking, why don't they just let those guys take over the game? That would be the way to watch the game.
Oh my God!
And if you want a conventional call, then put that on ESPN 5.
Yeah.
And let the people go, hey, listen to that. Joe Buck said it was a first down. I mean, great.
And you know what? Tap in first half would be the Cowboys broadcast or whatever, and the second half would
Dan
be
Campbell on that thing. I would have tuned in just for that.
I agree. I agree. It's just listen. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to watch, and their guests are fun too. I mean, having Dion on was, and they're still paying attention to the game, and it's really well done.
Way to watch a game. I mean,
whoever came up with that concept.
I think it was Peyton himself.
It was like Peyton. Yeah, Peyton loves doing this stuff.
Yeah.
He wants to be around football, but not in it, and he keeps doing it over and over again.
Imagine, and he could have been that guy comping the easy, 20 mil or whatever it is that Aikman is getting. And I mean, as much as Troy Aikman seems to be a very distinguished, individual and solid citizen, I don't think he's ever said anything interesting ever in any broadcast.
Well, I trust me. If this Peyton and Eli thing keeps going on the juggernaut that it's on, they'll be making that same kind of money soon because they're gonna demand it for ESPN.
But I mean, when do they just replace the broadcast? They've been looking for a solution going all the way back. I mean, with Monday
I
Night
agree
Football,
with you. It's
the
funny.
Danny Don Cosell and company.
I never thought of that.
This is it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is it. It really is it. It truly is. And they can get these really cool guests and to come on with them.
Yeah, that makes it a lot of fun. I mean, when you got LeBron James talking football or whatever, and
they don't have to worry about play-by. You don't have to worry about play-by-play.
We know what's going on. Sure.
As long as you know down and distance, that's really all you care about, right?
I am so tired of the telestrator as an aspect of watching football. Where every play has a telestrator involvement, and they're showing you this guy's going in this gap and this guy's going in that gap, and it's like it was a 3-yard play. I mean, why don't we just move on to the next play and try to figure out how the fuck they're going to gain more yards than that the next time they snap the football, because otherwise they're going to lose this game.
And this is where I like these are a few of the things I like about Romo, how he'll sort of he did it more when he first started.
At least he tries to do that.
Yeah, he's going to go, hey, this is where they're talking this. This is where the quarterback's thinking this.
Yeah.
This is where they need to try this.
I mean, if he sees Eli Apple out there by himself, you want to hear the guy say something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be a bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Said, literally, and I've never heard this, and I'm the king of preaching this, and I just read it. I didn't actually see him say it. He's like, look, the biggest myth of football is the halftime adjustment. He's like, we go in, we grab like Gatorade. The coach says, fight, men, fight. And then we go, he's like, this idea of halftime adjustments is the stupidest thing. He's like, nothing happens at halftime. He's like, we have 20 minutes. He's like, that's a load of garbage. And they never say that. They never say anything like Aikman's scared to reference his.
Well, those halftime adjustments seem to be clicking in there as he obviously decided to put more pressure on the quarterback. Right?
Well, I'm an idiot. I've been yelling about halftime adjustments.
Wow. Unbelievable. No, yeah, I mean you're absolutely right about that, and it's unfortunate that play-by-play and color analysis has drifted into such just a total cliche. With like a guy screaming at hysterical levels over plays that really aren't all that magnificent.
What do you think of Chris Collinsworth?
I can take him or leave him, and I'm not a big Al Michaels fan, but I mean he's very professional, obviously, and has a
but Chris doesn't
marvelous
work
career.
Chris works with Tirico, who I like. Tirico.
Oh yeah, well he was with Al Michaels for a long period of time.
And I'm with you. I'm with you on Chris. There are some things he does really well.
He's okay. A lot of people don't like him because they say he's a schlubber Fritz. I don't know. I think he's all right. I mean, he doesn't bother me as much as some other guys that are just pressing the entire time. And, it just seems like, the whole concept of the color analyst, we've talked about it many times, has gone away from what it's meant to be, which is a guy who provides color.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I had the pleasure of working a few fights on TV with the fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco. Mm-hmm. Who may not have known like every detail about everything that was going on in the game of boxing, but and he followed it, but he was colorful in his description of what was going on, even when he was being critical of the director who was fighting with over his current fee being dropped and cut in half when there were some budget cuts made to the Schlitz Malt Liquor Fight of the Week we were doing on the Sunshine Network, and but it was that frog voice. And when he said something, it was like, okay, he would say something like, I'll tell you what this guy's looking for right now. He's looking for the exit, which
It's true.
Instead of saying,
It's
there's another right hand. I mean,
right.
it gave you an image of what was. McEnroe does a great job of doing that, where
he
it
does.
kind of puts you
McEnroe
in the
does.
head of
And Chris does
what's
too.
going on.
I think Chris does a nice job too. Chrissy Everett. I think she does a nice job.
Chris Everett, not as much though. I mean, there were times where Chris Everett really, I think, I love her to death, but I mean, there were times where her commentary, she does hold back a little bit. Especially when nobody knows how to handle that guy Kyrgios and his behavior, which his antics are sometimes so outrageously, abhorrent that you would, as much as you would hate to see the match stop, you think it's time they throw in a towel and just disqualify this guy.
Agreed.
But I mean, you can't be soft on that and then be hard on other players when they do things that are a little bit, out of line. All right, Catholic Health Services. You mentioned healthcare, and here I call my primary healthcare guy. They're usually okay. If you go for an appointment, they're pretty accommodating and they know what to do, and they take care of business and make whatever recommendations are necessary if you have to go somewhere else. Although, with Medicare, which is great, you don't have to see a primary care person to go see some other specialist. But I mean, to get a medication prescription, I call yesterday. COVID-19. I tell them I tested positive for COVID. Can you prescribe something for it or whatever? The treatment is, at least put me on the phone with a doctor. He said, well, they'll just prescribe the medication. They'll call it into your pharmacy. You'll get a text message that the prescription is ready, which they usually do. So a few hours pass, nothing. And I call the pharmacy just to see if it was even called in. Nothing. They never heard from anybody. And then beyond that, they don't carry that medication. So totally useless. Now, here, that was yesterday. What if I was on my deathbed, Tony?
I know.
I mean, they don't even care. I have to call. They're not going to call this morning and say, "Hey, are you okay, Mr. DeForest? Did you get taken care of last night?"
And the reason you're telling the story is because Catholic Health Services is not like that at
exactly.
all.
Man.
They communicate. Listen, we go over this over and over again. I don't know how many times we can say it. If you want the doctor to call you back, if you want nurses to call you back, if you want therapists to call you back, if you want all of those things to happen, and if you want your entire family involved in figuring out what's going on with the loved one in terms of rehab, then Catholic Health Services is the only place you need to be, because they will do that. They do that every day. When someone comes in for rehab, especially, they're known for stroke rehab. When people are dealing with this, it impacts the entire family. It's not just the patient who's going through it, and the entire family is impacted. So what's the protocol? How does it work? So you have doctors, nurses, administrators, therapists, all going through the process and then setting up a program to get that loved one back on his or her feet quicker than they could have ever imagined and back to as normal life as they possibly can. But the entire way, Catholic Health Services tells you exactly what to expect and when to expect it. They tell the patient, they tell the family, and they do it on a daily basis, sometimes twice or three times a day. You're never going to be left in the dark. And how many times have we heard either Defo or Lubie or someone in my family call a doctor and never get a return phone call? Or
Zippo, no response.
Get the return phone call, and then you call them right back literally within 2 seconds, and they're not there. How does that happen? So with Catholic Health Services, all we're telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is if you need rehab of any kind, if you know someone who needs rehab of any kind, there's only one place to go: Catholic Health Services. We love them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy that was taking care of my mother, which kept changing while she was in the hospital, was operating out of some office in Costa Rica. I don't even know if he ever saw her. That was a crazy thing. But yeah, Zippo Response. I mean, if you want responsible people taking care of any aspect of your rehabilitation, whatever it's from, whether it's an orthopedic thing or a stroke, a heart attack, God forbid, Catholic Health Services is the place to go. All right, we'll come back and wrap things up with. Lubie has made a procedural decision here, and we're just going to take it right out the door here, Tony. And
all right.
Yeah. So
when are we headed to the Big Chill?
That's a wonderful question.
Oh, yeah. We should be headed down there. Well, I mean, that's something Lubie's been working on, unfortunately, without any
not the greatest
definitive success. So it's looking like after the season,
Who do you have to deal with?
John Kajemi's brother, Dominic Kajemi, kind of, handles a lot of that. And so, and his wife, Amanda, is the general manager there. So, and they both.
Whose wife is the general manager?
Dominic Kajemi.
Kajemi.
Yeah, so it's all a Kajemi family thing, and they're very accommodating. It couldn't be any better, but they're so busy, it's hard for them to make a commitment on that. Right. And of course, we need Jimmy to be there. for the whole thing to work. But we'll get it done, and that'll be great. I had one for you, Tony. I know. I'm a big fan of comeback stories, successful comeback stories. This may be, from going all the way back to Rain Out Theater when I used to play the Monty Stratton story, and I still, you think I have no emotion and no heart or soul, but I cry. I cried when Monty Stratton got back out there on the mound there, and with the wooden leg, he finally got a strikeout in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And then they started bunting on a guy, and he fell the first time, Jimmy Stewart. And then the next time they bunted again. I mean, like horrible. And he picks it up and he throws the guy out at second base. And like, I couldn't help. I couldn't hold back my emotions. So successful comeback stories have always moved me in sports. I mean, whether it was a guy.
I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked.
But I was kind of digging this, and I like guys that play the game for the love of the game. Don't need the money, don't need the acclaim.
Agreed.
You were also talking about this, and it kind of goes against a little bit, what we're saying about with Brady, and my position on Serena. But I'm watching Andy Murray play a 5-setter against this guy, this great Italian player, Matteo Berrettini, who's been slightly off his game. And this is a guy that like 5 years ago he was finished. And there was no reason for him to even stage a comeback except that he just loved playing. And you would see him like maybe win a round in doubles, and everybody would celebrate. And then, he'd be on the Olympic team. But you didn't think he was going to come back and ever be a factor in like major Grand Slam events. And this 5-set victory, I mean, it may lead him no further in the tournament. It doesn't seem to be a threat to win it. But I always love it when those guys are able to come back. I don't know if there was a Miami story where you had a guy like that that seemed to be completely done, and there was no chance he was ever going to be able to accomplish any of the things that were expected.
I have to think about that, but I agree with you. I those comeback stories and guys or women who come back because they love the game. And they don't want the accolades. They just want to play, and they'll go on satellite circuits or whatever. I agree with you. I totally agree. I have to think about that. But I urge people before we leave, if you have a opportunity, I would go to NFL films or NFL Network or and try and find that 72 team. If you're a Dolphin fans, that 72 special. But if not, just a reminder, February 5th, ESPN will have one. And I think, again, it brings back great memories for people. And just to see a lot of these guys today and seeing how they are, and hearing their stories and their memories kind of goes along with what you're saying, Defo. And I am going to put there's got to be something that's not coming to mind here at the moment for comeback stories of South Florida.
Yeah, no, always great when you see an athlete that been, detached from the game for a while and given up for dead. Then you wonder why would the guy even bother? I mean, in Murray's case, to do whatever it takes. I mean, to come back. I mean, sure, he has the time on his hands. He doesn't need to work, but he's made like $60 billion or whatever. I mean, in England, I would imagine he could do every endorsement, especially the ones that Prince Harry might have lost. When this book came out. Tell that guy to quit whining. Yeah, you have those kind of connections, Tony. Tell him to quit bitching. All right. I mean, if you don't want to be a royal family member, good. So don't be one.
Yeah, it's like enough already. Goodness me, it couldn't have been that bad, for gosh sakes.
How horrible could it have been? Yeah, I mean, except to have to wear those stupid outfits. I mean,
yeah, come on, man. I mean, you're in the royal family, for goodness sake. You're set for life. Generations beyond you are set for life.
And it's not like you did anything. I mean, they don't do anything.
Yeah, what do they do?
They're just like the royal family.
Like what do you do?
Don't have any specific responsibilities.
You get up in the morning and you go, "Oh, we're the royal family."
They're not governing the country.
Like, we look around, like, what do we have to start doing any of this stuff? Like, what? Are
this Harry couldn't give you a traffic ticket. What are we worried about him for, right?
All right, real quick. Who you like in the games before we go?
Divisional I mean,
come on, real quick.
What do you want? 4 losers? I mean, what are you thinking? Are we talking point spreads? I mean,
I'm just thinking.
I think you have to factor in the spreads. Yeah.
You have to do spreads.
All right, come on, Tony. Let's
all
get
right,
here.
Well, let's do it real quick. Come on.
All right, Eagles Giants. I mean, I want to like the Giants, but I don't have a solid professional opinion on the Eagles.
It depends on how healthy Hurts is. It depends on how healthy Hurts is. If Hurts is healthy, it's a no-brainer.
Tempted to think maybe
what's
the
the
Giants
spread?
find a way to
What's
hang in there.
what's
7 and a
the-
hook, a dangerous 7 and a hook.
I'd probably take the
I
Giants.
have to think
on that.
about that one. I think the
Yeah.
Eagles will win the game, but I don't know
Yeah.
about the 7 and a hook. Chiefs, same thing there. I believe they'll easily, well, not easily. If I believe that, I would lay the 8.5. The line has actually come down a small margin in favor of the Jaguars.
Cincinnati, over the Jaguars.
Chiefs, Jaguars. Chiefs don't cover spreads. I mean, they have a habit. They were the worst team until Tampa Bay, I think, topped them. They were the worst team in the league against the spread until they covered one like in the last week of the season. So laying 8.5, I don't know. I think the Jaguars come down to earth though in this game.
Yeah,
that was a little scary. They're behind 27-0. There's a reason that happened, and it's
they're not going
to.
If they go down 27-0 to Chiefs, they're not going to come back on them.
And you notice what happened, with San Diego. I mean, the L.A. Chargers is that they immediately fired their offensive coordinator and quarterback coach and kept the clown that was,
What about the 49ers? What about the 49ers game?
I think they
49ers. I like the 49ers. I mean, at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Can the Cowboys duplicate that performance, or do they bounce back into more of what they were in the latter stages of the season? I don't know. Like you said, Dak Prescott was out of his mind. He was. Can he do that against that San Francisco defense? That's a good question.
Yeah. And the Bengals, Bills.
I don't know what. The Bengals supposedly have offensive line issues again. If that's the case.
Yeah.
I like the Bills in that ball game at home. I do. And I would lay the 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wouldn't shock me if Cincinnati won, but they didn't look real good against Baltimore. And Baltimore
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
All right, Tony. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks,
absolutely. Lubie, I'll be in touch as to the perfect day for us.
Yeah,
okay?
keep me posted.
Yeah, I definitely. Oh, you'll be the first to know.
Oh, very good, man. Very nice. What are you making Tony the godfather of your baby? What am I missing out on here?
No one's pregnant that I know, but I don't know what he's going to be down here, so hopefully we can all get together.
Okay, great. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, Luber, I see you have somebody standing by to be on a podcast or something.
Yes.
On a Believe podcast. Very good. I'll let you conduct that business. And then we'll see you later on with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today, talking a little bit of food. Mayo's been obsessed with sports lately since he went 0-6. Could a guy go 0-10 in playoff picks? That's 100%. Impossible.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like even Chris Dudley eventually would make a free throw, even if he had missed 9 straight.
With the spread, yeah. I mean...
All of these spreads, Loom, is
ominous. Cover. I mean, like the
natural inclination is to think that all 4 chalk prevail outright, and so are you playing into? Although I mean, who would you give the best chance of
covering?
It's not like impossible to see any of these underdogs winning outright. It's not impossible, except for maybe the Jaguars, and even that, I mean, stranger things have happened. No.
Yeah, I can see them covering. Like the Chiefs don't cover.
I can see them covering because the Chiefs are bad against the point spread.
Yeah.
But the Giants could beat the Eagles. It's not impossible if they play like they did last week against Minnesota. Maybe they catch a rusty Eagles team with an injured Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And they get lucky there. It's possible.
I won't give them credit, so we'll see. We'll see if they prove me wrong.
Bengals, Bills, toss up a lot of Bengals were flat as a Parisian runway model against the Baltimore Ravens.
Exactly.
After getting off to a decent start. But I don't know. I think the Bills at home are going to be – I think they're going to play better than they did last week. I believe they will.
Yep.
After getting a scare, at the hands of the totally disregarded Miami Dolphins. And then 49ers appear to be the team. Everybody loves the 49ers. The Cowboys were so impressive against Tampa Bay. I don't know that you can completely discount them. And there's always a question of when does this Cinderella expire there with this Purdy thing, and he finally is victimized by a couple of clown plays that another team is able to take advantage of, which also is prohibitive because San Francisco, that's defensive coordinator. I mean, he can name his job in the NFL, right? They're canceling interviews with Sean Payton to get a look at this guy. All right. We're going to see you later on 12 o'clock today. Thanks, people, for bearing with us here. We'll keep you posted on all of the disease activity and where we stand there. Clear and cold are the conditions they put up on the board there in the hospital bed that I'm sitting in. And then we'll talk some food and drink with Mike Mayo 12 o'clock today. We'll see you tomorrow with a trivia challenge, Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 as we leave it on that.
The time.
9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.